Everybody, glad you're here with us this evening. We are at Dementia at Dusk, and we are here at the Passmore Center, which is the senior programming center with Program on Aging, Department of Aging, here in the northern part of Orange County, North Carolina. Now, the other one we were at last time we got together was down in Chapel Hill area, and that serves the bottom half of the county. And so that's where the primary building is, but this is a great place. So tonight, I thought I would start off by I've got some folks here visiting with us from around. I wanted to go over the idea of this thing called dementia, because it is a great big umbrella term. The reality, though, is we probably have about 80% of people who have the condition unlabeled for the first 5, maybe even 8 years of having dementia. So they don't have a diagnosis yet. Nobody really recognizes what we're seeing is now going to be something that is life-altering, life-changing for everybody. And it's progressive. And it takes on average 5 to 8 years for us to go from going, what is going on here? To recognizing what we're dealing with is, this is exactly what I hoped it wasn't. But it is. And during that 5 to 8 years, we've done a lot of things with each other and to each other in relationships that if we had realized what we were coping with and dealing with, we might not have done that way. But because nobody gave us that information, why are you doing this? You need to take that medicine. Do you want to end up in the emergency room? What have you done? No, you cannot do this. We've talked about, that sort of I'm so exasperated. What we talked about, what do you mean we haven't talked about? We have talked about, this back and forth. We get into negative interactions with people because our thought is we say, you're not even thinking this through. And it's like, absolutely, you're right. I am not thinking this through. But the reason why I'm not thinking this through is my brain has quit working the way it used to. And the tricky part is it's not always not working, because sometimes it works just fine, which means to us, well, you were, when we had this conversation, you agreed to this. And now I'm saying, I never said that. And it just feels like, what are you talking about? How can you tell me you've never talked? This is you agreed. And that frustration, that really intense feeling that, why are you doing this to me? Why are you being like this? Why, how could you not remember that we had this conversation? Because it was a very intense conversation the first time through. It wasn't easy to deal with the first time. So to have somebody then declare that you've never even brought it up. And the challenge here is when somebody is starting to develop dementia, 50% of the time or better, they will not know that that's what's happening to them. They will think they're fine, or, yeah, I have some memory problems, but everybody has memory problems. It's not that bad. Why are you making it up to be so much? And we often have some members of the family or whoever's around us saying, oh, he's fine. I don't know why you're making such a big deal of it. Everybody forgets stuff every now and then. It's like, this isn't, and you find yourself feeling really isolated or feeling like you're being mean or unrealistic. And if you even go to the doctor during this period, you may not get a lot of support for identifying what's happening unless you have some details that really help you to help them know, no, this is a pattern of behavior. I'm noticing a pattern. There's a rhythm to this. There's stuff about this. Here's the inconsistencies. And it's not just aging. Aging doesn't look like this. So let's separate that out because, because so-and-so happened and this happened. There's a lot of confusion here between depression and dementia. And what we know is a lot of people who develop dementia get depression. We also know that a lot of people who live with depression and are having a hard time managing depression develop dementia. What we don't exactly know is chicken or egg sometimes. Which one is it? We also know that for many people living with dementia, the meds that people take for depression don't work as well for them. They don't seem to do the thing that we want it to do. But the same is true for another condition that I don't have up here. I'm going to make another circle, which is anxiety. That sense of anxiety. Well, I don't know what I don't know why I have to, what is going on here? This doesn't seem right. This distress state where, well, what is it we're doing it to? Well, why are you saying that I agree? I don't know what we're talking about. That sense of, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk to him. Why are you bringing this up? Do you think something's wrong with me? And that sense of being attacked or feeling uncertain, or why are things not where they're supposed to be? And you're thinking, well, Mom, I'm not sure. Maybe you moved them. I wouldn't move them. Why would I move them? I have them exactly where I like them. And it's like, well, I don't know. You're the only one here. No, I am telling you, someone is coming in here and moving things. And you're like, I don't know who's coming in here. So this whole thing of distress. So here's the tricky part. Who else is distressed? And who else is anxious after a while? Everybody else. And so that anxiety, who else also often feels depressed? Yeah. Who's questioning themselves a lot? And who's questioning you? Well, I think there's something wrong with you. I think there's something wrong with you. And so this conflict really escalates. And we're talking 5 to 8 years. So how much damage can we do to each other in 5 to 8 years? How many families can get to loggerheads and really be arguing with each other? How much financial damage can get done in 5 to 8 years? How much health damage? How much even property neglect can take place in 5 to 8 years? So how about not paying taxes for 5 to 8 years because I can't quite pull it together to do it and I keep putting it in the drawer?
So someone is asking from TikTok, how do you get a diagnosis then? Because it feels like they've tried, and if you're not aware, then you're not seeing anything wrong. How do you even start that conversation? Yeah,
so this gets really tricky. So from the very beginning, if the person living with this condition does recognize something's going on, they could say, I feel like something's happening to me, and I don't know what it is, but this is not my usual. I can't get these things. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble. That's one whole situation. We're going to move that off to the side because that's the truth in about 50% of situations. They're the first one that are starting to pick up on things and raise it up. And they too will not get diagnosed accurately about 80% of the time for the first 5 to 8 years until the symptoms become profound. So what we can do if we're in the group, what we want to do is develop some new strategies and new ways of saying things. So if I were to say, let's say Amanda's the person I'm concerned about. I'm worried about her.
And I'm fine.
And she thinks she's fine. So I would say, so let's say she's a friend of mine, or maybe, she's somebody in my life. What relationship do we want to have? A friend?
We'll be a
friend.
A friend for now.
Or she could be a daughter who had Down syndrome.
Sure.
I mean, she could be a daughter who'd been in an accident when she was younger and had a head injury.
Or for Lewy body,
Lewy body, she could just be my daughter at the age she is and I'm the age I am. I mean, that's the weird thing about dementia. Everybody thinks old people. And what we know is, in 10% of cases, we're talking about people younger than 65. So people are so like, nah, that's just for old people, right? And it's like, yeah, no. So I've worked with 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 35-year-olds, especially with Down. That's a particularly high-risk category for people developing dementia at younger ages. And with certain genetic coding, we also see it. But so you say...
Well, I'm fine. I'm not sure why you keep bringing this up.
You're not sure why I keep bringing it up. So let's sit down for a second. Here, sit here, because I want to check in with you on something. Because
so tell them why you did that.
So what I'm doing here is Amanda's right-handed. And if I stand on her left-hand side, I already put her on high alert and then make her uncomfortable. Because our left side, if we're right-handed, is our non-dominant side. And people tend to want to shield from that side. They don't want to connect. So when I switch sides with her, I'm now on a side that she's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I made sure that I was slightly beyond arm's reach here. because what we're doing is talking about something that could get intense. I also turned so that we cannot look at each other while we're talking. I don't know if you've ever heard that when you're working with teenagers, oh, this is the worst situation. You don't want to get in somebody's face and say, Mom, I've got to tell you.
Show you.
But with teenagers, they've actually shown that you can have the best conversations in the car while you're driving because both people don't have to look at the other person to be able to say what you're thinking. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure I don't start leaning in and making a lot of contact. So I'm going to say, so you're feeling like everything's fine and it feels like I'm pushing at you.
Well, you're the fourth person that said something. And I mean, so what if I have a couple of mistakes? I mean, I don't understand why this is such a big deal.
Okay. So yeah. So a few mistakes, but it feels like we're making a big deal out of a few mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think for me, what it is I'm getting worried that the mistakes might mean something. They might not, but I'm concerned that they might mean something. And
well, like what? I mean,
well, I don't know
what,
because, we had a situation where, it's not you. I mean, what happened didn't feel like you and how you would normally do it.
Well, I mean, they changed the route, with the route that I was that I would.
Oh, you're talking about the time when you were going to go over to Durham and you were in Fayetteville.
Well, is that what this is about? Because anybody could make a mistake.
Yeah, I was really wondering if that was the thing you were thinking about when you were asking about it.
Well,
now I'm going to pause. What do I notice that she's having trouble with in addition to dealing with things are changing? What is she having trouble coming up with here? The right words. She can't find the words. So it's going to be important that when I'm thinking about sharing this with a medical provider, I say, I think we're having some naming and word finding problems like proper nouns and names of things. And she's always been really good at that. So that's a change that I can identify. What else? What else have you noticed is sort of different?
She sort of didn't finish a sentence. They changed the route.
Yeah, so she's not really finishing the thought because she can't, she's already coming up with the reason why it could happen and pushing outward with reason of, they did something and therefore that's why it happened. So if that's not traditionally her pattern, like if she had self-awareness before and she said, I made a wrong turn and I was trying to follow the route, but I made a mistake. If how she was self-aware enough to sort of recognize where the error occurred and what happened, and now she's doing this, they changed the route. It means she's starting to see that blaming things on other people. And that's a change in the brain too. Okay. So I did some backing up a little bit and said, a little bit of, I'm concerned, I'm worried, and I don't know. So what I don't want to do is I think you have dementia.
Oh, no, I do not.
I think there's something wrong with you.
Oh, there's something wrong with one of us.
Yeah, okay. Because if I push it all, because she's already showing me, as soon as she feels threatened, she starts pushing outward with cause. So I can see, wow, man, this is going to be a tough one. So I'm going to say things like, now what else did she tell us? There was one other thing. 4 other people have made comment. Do this with your fan. She is totally not noticing. We got 4 people saying this. That's a pretty significant number of people if everything's fine.
Sounds like people are ganging up on me.
Yeah. And so this is where she's getting data from lots of sources, and it still isn't ringing a bell that maybe I should go get this looked at. She's still feeling put upon.
Feeding into some other paradigm, and the paradigm is
everybody's against me. And so I've got to be super careful in this mode, because if she sees everyone against her, what she'll do, the primitive part of her brain is activating. And the primitive part of the brain...
Get out. Get the hell out of here. You come in my house one more time like that.
Okay, so now the pushback. And now locking the doors, slamming the windows, not wanting anybody to know, and isolating. And that's one of the high-risk behaviors. No, I'm not going to share anything with you. I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't want you to catch me. And so we start seeing people withdraw from things they've always enjoyed doing, not talking on the phone as much, not wanting to go to places as much, not engaging when you're out as much, feeling more, we would describe it, irritable and mean about things and not wanting to try things or talk about things. And it's like, I just am concerned. And so
take your concern and leave.
Yeah.
I'm
and
fine.
So what she also did is swore in front of me, and that may be a surprise. But that I see also when the primitive part of the brain feels threatened. And that means the thinking part of the brain isn't working right. Something's wrong in the thinking part of the brain because the primitive brain is getting real active here. And it's saying, this is a threat. I'm not getting my needs met. Nobody cares. Nobody likes me. I can't find pleasure in this, which is where we see the feeling of depression or apathy. What's the point? Why would I bother? Kinds of things. So what you see me doing is really pulling back from a lot of things and saying, so when you were trying to get to Durham, you end up in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty close, so yeah.
So it seems like they're pretty close, so it wasn't that far off. But when you called...
I mean, I was a little worried because...
Okay, so I'm going to pause. She remembers that she called. So that's the tricky part. See, she does remember making the phone call, but now what's she doing?
Trying to find a reason why
you would might have called if you was not that far away and you weren't that worried. Why were you calling? Because what triggered for me, what I knew was a problem was when I got the phone call. I don't understand I don't know what's going on. How did I get in Fayetteville? It was all about the signs. I don't know how to get back home. Because in that moment, she had a panic attack. And she panicked because her primitive brain went, I have no idea how to get out of here. And I've got to call my safety. And so I get the phone call, but now she's downplaying that phone call a lot. And that's not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal.
I was a little worried. But
you were a little worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's sort of the kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I've had to call you a few times, but it's
not a big deal.
I don't think so.
And I agree. It's not a big deal. And I'm going to say the word yet, but it's new. It's something different than what we've been looking. I mean, Well,
I guess it's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean.
And all I'm asking is, could we verify that it's not something? That's what I'd like to do right now, is just make sure there isn't something happening. Because if there is, I'd rather catch it when it's not very much than wait until it's a lot.
Well, I mean, what else could it be? I don't
know. I mean, I don't know if anxiety is kicking up a little bit in a way that's making your brain not work so well, or whether or not one of the medicines you're on maybe is starting to have a negative effect.
Well, I mean, I do take a few.
You do take a few. Yeah. And so I don't know, but I know I'm asking for a big favor.
It is. It's a lot. I
know. You're feeling like everything's okay. And I'm concerned if we just go see your regular doc, you may not get a really good workup. And I think you deserve...
Well, I mean, he's been a quack for years.
Well, I mean, if you don't, so we may get that, or depending on the relationship. So what have you heard me trying to do here? A little bit of.
Trying to help her open up to the possibility.
I'm really staying back with, it is just minor right now. In my brain, guess what my brain is thinking? This is not minor. This is not minor. This is a problem. You've called me 5 times. You've been in different parts of the state. You have no idea how you got there. You're driving a motor vehicle and you have no idea how you got to these places.
It's fine.
And it's midnight when I'm getting a phone call. So you've been gone for 7 hours.
I had to run out for milk. I was just getting milk.
Yeah, I was just going, I wasn't gone that long, which means my sense of time passage is her sense of time passage is messed up. How you get places is messed. Our wayfinding system is broken. But her memory thing is off on. But if I don't carefully describe this to a practitioner who's skillful, it will get dumped as minor rather than significant. So wayfinding problems, problems with awareness of passage of time, issues with word finding and idea formation and the ability to recognize causation, the ability to think through this. I'm seeing withdrawal from a lot of activities. I've identified 5 core symptoms right there that are symptoms that should be carefully evaluated, because although they could be something that's, the real reason they should be evaluated, because they could be something that's fixable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because all of those symptoms could belong to anxiety, they could belong to depression, they could be because her pills are not right, they could be because a diabetes is starting to kick into gear that we didn't even realize she had, and so she's having blood sugar problems. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. But if we let this go 5 to 8 years, it won't matter what the original cause was, because now we've got something cooking and the cascade event has occurred. And now I've got something in the cascade event. That's what we call the beginning of dementia, this sort of start to dementia. And it's tricky because it doesn't mean like, boom, you got it. It's this cascading of junk that starts building up in the brain, which means the brain is not able to do its job like it should. And it's these little light bulbs that if we're noticing, we start to pick up on. But we can't poke her, because as soon as we start poking her, or if we go to a practitioner who's not skillful, and most practitioners are overwhelmed by how much they're asked to look at. And for somebody her age, what do you think the most common things they'll bring up are? And it is not going to be dementia.
Are you pregnant?
Are you pregnant?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
CMS.
Do you have PMS? Yeah.
Sure.
There's a lot of female things. Anxiety issues. Maybe she has, maybe she has a history of something that we haven't found out. What else? Is she taking drugs? What else? Does she have
Schizophrenia.
Does she have schizophrenia? Has she schizophrenia? What else? I mean, the laundry list goes on, but rarely on average, it takes 3 to 8 years, usually about 5, for somebody who's in the younger category to get a diagnosis, even after you start seeking it, to get the accurate diagnosis. Mm-hmm. It will be misidentified, mismanaged, and mistreated for about 5 years on average in this nation.
And for older folks, 2 years, at least.
2 to 3.
Yeah.
2 to 3, but what we then do is throw them in the category of, we'll put them in this box, Alzheimer's. Rather than saying, okay, we've got something that is progressive, it's chronic, it's variable, it's a lot variable, and it's destroying at least 2 and more parts of the brain. It's moving forward. And we know it's some kind of dementia, but we should look more carefully at the symptom profile and how it started and how it moved forward to identify what type or types of dementia. Because we have Lewy body, which is a big category, and it's probably either the second or third most common, 30% of all dementias now, we think. Vascular, which means a blood supply to the brain is a problem. And all these guys like to hang out, or frontal temporal dementias, because these are categories of dementias. That these are the kinds of dementia people can have, and they can have more than one. Because one dementia starts and the others like to party.
So who do you go to for diagnosis?
Yeah, the kind of folks we're looking for, we want to look for neurologists who really, really enjoy and want to learn about dementia and are invested in not only doing the diagnostics, but working with families once we do that, or working with a person once we do that. And if not, they know how to get a really super referral to a support system. Because to get the diagnosis without the support, that's not helpful. Families and the person deserve really good support, peer support, work support. We can also look at gerontologists who are really, geriatric specialists who are really interested. Again, I add the word interested in dementia, because there are some folks who that's not their thing. They quickly want to identify it and move on. But instead, we want people who are really committed to appreciating this is one of the trickiest conditions to live with, whether you're the person living with it or supporting somebody living with it. It is one of the most scary things to deal with because there's such variability and there's so little real knowledge about it. And people historically have said, well, there's nothing you can do. And it's like, well, that's not true. There's a host of things we can do. We can't fix dementia, but we sure can make a difference in people's lives when we know what to do and how to do it. So if Manda says, let's say, for instance, she wants to go, I need to get going, I'm going to go to the store. And we've had 6 of these episodes. What do you think the automatic reflexive answer for me is? No.
Gotta get these.
No. Come on. Now, stop. I'm not going to have you drive the car. Ooh. Did you see that?
Haven't let go yet. These are mine.
Yeah, okay. And so this is where we can get into fights, we can get into arguments, but we can actually get into physical altercations. Now, do you think she's better driving ticked off?
Yes. Yes. Why, yes, I am. Thank you for asking.
If I call the state police or the highway patrol, now what's our relationship going to be? Oh my gosh, yeah. Or if I call the doctor and say she needs meds, it's like, well, what meds does she need? Don't drive meds. We need the I don't want to drive meds. When we give that kind of med, let me know about it, because there is no such thing as the I don't want to drive anymore med.
Would her reaction look different if she had Alzheimer's versus Lewy body?
It could, and part of it is also who somebody is. So we've got who is somebody. Like if they've always been the boss of things and they've always been in charge and they like being in charge and they still think they are in charge, that's one set of reactions. What do you think those will be like? You got to figure out how to tap dance a lot.
Why did you look at this table and you let this in my house and you know how I feel about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That should not be like that.
This is crap.
Wow, that is. Let me get a camera. We need to take a picture of it. This is ridiculous. I can't even believe this happened.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I totally didn't know.
You didn't do this?
Not that I know about. Absolutely
who
not.
Who would do the one like?
I'm not sure.
Well, I don't want it in my house.
I hear you. Let's get a picture. Can you hand me the camera right there? Now, what I have to do is make sure when I give a cue, could you hand me the camera without pointing to it? For somebody like her, really bad idea. Because she's got to figure out I'm talking about the camera, look way over to the side, find the camera,
There's no camera over there, and that is also not a camera. I bring the stupidest people into this house, and then they tell me I can't drive, and now who's in charge of who?
There you go.
I'm going to go get the milk.
So, let's take a picture. Yeah. So as far as you know, this wasn't this way.
Well, no, and I don't know.
This has been this way for 2 years. And it's that recognition of, okay, me fussing about what's going on here. So her reaction there was pretty consistent with Alzheimer's. And somebody who has always liked to be in charge. Now, let's say she never liked being in charge. She's a go-along person. She just wants to connect. Okay, that's her main thing. Mm-hmm. But she thinks everything's fine. So, tell you what, I'm going to go to the store, okay? And I'm going to have you, if you would.
I'll do the driving.
You were thinking of driving. Well, no, now if I do my usual, no, you can't drive. Now, she might let me do it. I told you can't. Oh, don't start crying.
Like
I'm not being mean. You're just not safe to drive. I told you. Remember the doctor even said, So this, I'm actually making her feel bad about the whole thing, which she just wants to connect. So guess what she's very vulnerable for? Because do I make it sound like I like her anymore, or I think she's smart anymore? So is she really fair game for anybody who's smart enough to be friendly with her?
Well, my mom's been out all day and she doesn't want me anymore. Why don't you come in? And yes, I can show you where we keep the files. That you're from the bank, you said?
So they become incredibly vulnerable to victimization because they like to connect Their brains are not safe anymore. And if I get us not liking each other very much, she's needing to connect. And so she becomes.
And all you want to do is leave.
And all I want to do is leave because she's clinging like crazy. She keeps asking the same stupid questions all over again. And I just need a break. And I let her see all that. What starts to happen is she then, might give money to people, might open her bank account, might offer things to people that put her incredibly at risk. I mean, it's fraud, it's abuse, and it happens a lot. So those are two situations. On the other side of the coin, we have people who do have awareness. And the challenge for them is getting heard. Because as we said, with a young person, well, it's probably stress. I'll give you something for stress. It's probably this, it's probably that. But we keep avoiding the elephant in the room, and nobody does a thorough evaluation to find out, well, let's figure out what your brain is doing. And even a screening. So how many of you, when you've been to the doctor, have said, okay, what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you name as many animals as you can in a minute. And I'm going to keep track. And this is our baseline. And every time you come back, I'm going to have you do this. And that way we'll notice if anything is changing, sort of as soon as it's changing. We don't want to let it go too long. So what do you think? Would that be okay? Can we go ahead and do that? I mean, is that the moment where you go, ooh, that's a little scary? But at the same time, if I say to you, here's the challenge. If we don't establish a baseline, I could miss early signs and symptoms that something might be happening. It might be a med problem. It might be an anxiety problem. It might be a blood sugar problem. All I know is without that information, I don't have a good baseline on you. And just like a hearing screening and vision screening, I don't want to let it go.
What kinds of things should people ask for specifically?
I start with just an animal fluency screen. And the other one it's a very common one, is called clock drawing. Yeah, and one of the reasons we do it is if I give you a great big circle and I say, put the numbers in to represent the face of a clock, it allows people who are aware, I want to start up here with 12. One of the things we see people do early on that don't realize they have issues is they start with 1. Because your brain just doesn't think. And I don't really notice that there's anything wrong with it. So that's one thing that can happen. Something else the simple thing of clock drawing can actually give us some good information. And typically they'll have people use a pen with it so that they can't erase it and start over. And what we'll do is sometimes people will go, I put everything in 1/2. And when I do that, there's evidence potentially that I have vascular damage, and it's actually affecting my ability to take in this half of my world. And so what I might have is damage to the left side of my brain, which means that I get this side of vision, but I'm missing this side over here.
Yeah, I had a stroke on this side. My brain.
Yep.
For a while afterwards, I just didn't perceive on the left. They thought
You got it.
It was neglect, but it's actually a
hemianopsia. Yeah. So it's the vision lack, which is really important to know if somebody's going to live in an environment on their own. And we have things that are over to the left because you have it now. But if you were to start to develop a cognitive problem on top of having had the stroke and know about it, then you would forget that this is over here. And so you start having problems with only eating half your food again and things that initially were the issue because people were thinking it was neglect. It's actually a vision loss. And you have to actively turn your head a lot to see to the left-hand side.
I have my executive functioning
Yep.
still, but somebody who's got dementia.
You got it.
So they don't know what they don't know.
Yep, and that's the problem where the safety issues come in. So something this simple, and then what you do is you say, okay, now I want you to put the hands on the clock to represent the time. And the time is something that you make sure that each hand is on either side. So like 2:45. So you have to do the short hand and then the long hand. And I'm looking to see, can you figure that out? Because a mature adult, you should be able to do that. And if you can't do that, then my sort of alarm goes up. How's she managing meds? Yeah, I'm just curious, how are the meds coming along? I mean, could she be mistaking meds? And could that be contributing to problems? So it's this sort of sorting things out, but this quick screening of animal fluency, naming as many animals as you can and doing that. And if I see anything that makes me nervous, then we want to do more of a full sort of the St. Louis University mental screen, or depending on the cognitive ability, the educational background, the Montreal kind of, yeah.
I should add that since we're discussing
Yeah.
this, Thursday, June 9th, the Department on Aging right here at Passmore will be having trained staff conducting
Yay.
formative assessments.
Yay! Screenings, yeah, so they're
Okay.
nice, thanks. Perfect. So if anybody does want to just go ahead and establish their baseline, come and get your baseline.
Yes, yeah, we can-
Because the goal is to have a baseline. So I have baseline. Actually, both of them have baselines too, because we believe in going ahead and get your baseline and then noticing your changes over time. Because whether it's dementia or something else, if you don't know what your cognition is, and we haven't been tested since high school or college, it's tricky. And we don't do that. So that's sort of where our recommendation. And there's also the SAGE, SAGE. It's a self-administered. You can do it online. Some people like to keep it quiet, but the problem is if you get your answers, then what? So noticing that. So since we've been on, do you guys have any questions that have come up or you've thought about? Because we were just sort of covering the beginning, sort of like, how do you start off with this thing?
My mom, who lives in Michigan, has been diagnosed, and we had, during COVID, we had to move her to a nursing home.
Ouch.
So, yeah, it was
How miserable for
a
everybody.
very, very tough situation. But in any case, the one thing that when I talk to her on the phone, I hear her do, I don't see her.
Yep.
Is I'll be talking to her, and then her response is always, I see. I see.
Yep.
I see. And to me, that means she's
not
not
processing.
understanding or
Yeah.
processing.
She's not getting it.
that
Yeah.
I'm saying to her.
Yeah. So can you give me sort of an example of what you might say, like a phrase or a sentence that might start you off, or a...
So she has a tendency, as soon as she answers the phone, to always say, so what's going on there?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things we'll do is I'll start off the way we want to sort of reframe ourselves. Okay. So you'll call and you'll say, hi, Mom. And she'll say, hey,
I
sweetie.
always identify myself.
Good job.
She has 7 children.
Nice. Hey, Mom, it's so-and-so.
Yes. I said, hi, Mom, this is Kathy. How are you? She always says, I'm fine, regardless.
Okay.
I'm fine, wrote.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
responses.
automatic social back and forth. Yep.
Mhm. And then she immediately says, so what's going on there?
There you go. Okay. So we'll role play this. Ring-a-ling-ling. Ring-a-ling-ling.
Well, hey there, sweetheart.
Hey, Mom, it's Teepa.
Hey.
Hey, Mom, how you doing? Great, okay, or ugh?
Okay.
Okay. Well, hey, Mom, what are 2 things that are pretty good in your life these days? 2 things. Give me one. What's one good thing?
Oh,
Now, what did I do rather than say, how you doing? Fine. I've asked for social and I'll get it because she's got the social thing going on. How you doing? Great, okay, or ugh? So I'm actually giving her permission to tell me not so great or okay or ugh. So she said okay, which said, I got her thinking for just a second. Because living in a nursing home, I'll guarantee you, at best, it's probably okay. Because she's not happy to be there 100%. She didn't want to go there in the first place. So she's not fine, and so that's that cover that she puts on to hide everything. So then, rather than, okay, ooh, what are 2 things that are going pretty good for you right now? And rather than let her jump right into what am I doing here, I'll see if I can guide her into thinking about hers. And if she says,
Well, they don't. There's not a lot going on. What's going on for you down there?
You're wondering what's going on down my way. Now, what that tells me is, she's having a hard time identifying positives. And so, well, Mom, you're wondering what's going on down here. I repeat the question she asked me rather than answer the question she asked me. Well, you're asking me what's going on down here.
Yeah. How are you these days?
You're wanting to know how I'm doing. Yeah. So it sounds like, you're sort of not got a lot of excitement. So you know what I'm hoping?
What?
I hope this phone call gives us something exciting.
Oh, well, I always love talking to you.
I love talking to you too. Ooh, so one of the things that was going on is it was super hot here today.
Oh, Lordy be.
Yeah. So now you up your way, super hot or not so hot?
Well, I'm not.
Did you have you been outside today, or are you mostly staying in? Mostly in.
But it's sunny out.
It's sunny out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Michigan, North Carolina, might be different, might be the same. Michigan weather's all over the place, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've really slowed the conversation down, and I'm trying to find out what she's taking in and what she's getting. And so less of that automatic phrasing back, so that we're actually getting something that I'm getting a sense of how things are for her and what she's able to do right now. So, ooh, hey, Mom. And I can always get her to pause if I go, ooh, hey, Mom. Ooh is a great sound for an interjection because it means something exciting. I saw flowers the other day.
Oh, that's nice.
And I automatically thought of you. Now, they weren't roses. They have ants in them.
Oh.
And every time we picked them and we bring them in, I swear, no matter how hard we look, they end up with ants in the house, those black ants.
Uh-huh.
And they're those ones that are big. And now we've had the bright pink ones and then the white and pink and then the pure white ones. They're big, poofy tops.
I love those.
Now,
gardenia or something else?
Is it gardenia? I was thinking pennies or something else.
Oh, those.
Yeah.
Now you do have to watch the ants.
Yeah, we always end up with ants. So I'm using a lot of descriptor words rather than, and talking about something that we have in our common history a while back. And I'm phrasing it in such a way she may or may not get it. But if she does, and I'll try pennies or something else. Well, I don't know if it's pennies. Okay, I'll let it go because, not ringing a bell. Because I'm looking for commonalities that I can get her synapses to fire. Okay. And her synapses to get excited. And her synapses to recognize, yeah, do you remember that time? And then all of a sudden, I have people that will just take off. And all of a sudden they're talking because that opens the door to this memory set and there's words associated with it. And so she can find those words in that moment. They'll disappear again, but in that moment you have a much better conversation. And she actually is excited rather than you walking away going, I'm not sure she's processing much of it. And you're trying to think of what to talk about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's little things like, ooh, hey, Mom, I was in the garden yesterday and I noticed something. And these pauses, and the pauses are now.
Or, hey, Mom, on your wall, you always had this picture. And it's orange on the outside.
Orange on the outside.
Look around. Look and see if you see it anywhere.
Here?
Yeah. Look and see, because you always love to have that.
Oh, well, there's one there.
Oh.
Are you talking about this one?
Is there one there that has orange
Now,
on
what
it?
am I not realizing on the phone? Are you talking about this one?
Not there. Oh, not there.
No sense of where I am, where she is, so that there's no way she could see the picture I'm seeing on the wall. I don't get that part because I can't triangulate. Sort of like little kids, you know, if she's the mommy, I can't be her mommy as a grandma. Because kids have that hard time learning about relationships among family members at first until they get a little older. So if I say, oh, like this one up here,
Does it have orange on it?
it does, I think, yeah.
What about a bird on it? Does it have?
So if you help set the space up, or you help set up, or she has some belongings around, then you can get her to focus on that, and then the two of you can sort of converse with her looking at something. Or, you know, seeing something. So it helps her brain see and listen at the same time.
You're not necessarily going anywhere into a story about
Nope.
figures, just trying
Nope, just
just
sort of
appreciating
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with her though. That's sort of
That
weird.
always was a question that I had.
Well, she's got feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
Was that something somebody gave you?
Well.
But in that moment, what we're doing is we're connecting in a much more effective way. And she's feeling like she's sharing something. Mom, I sure did enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
Versus, all right, well, bye. Bye. And it's like,
Thanks for
you're not
calling.
sure you actually got in there enough to truly connect. And it's really, you know she's probably lonely. You know she would love being with people. But at the same time, you know that that's hard. When you go up there, she gets overwhelmed pretty easily too. So that's a thought that might be helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's past the time we usually stop. So we're going to say thanks to everybody and thanks to y'all. And hopefully you heard something that might be helpful. And thanks for the information you shared about Orange County and social work and the support that's offered and the screening that's taking place locally here. And thanks to you all for being interested enough to turn up and show up and be curious.
And if they'd like to reach out and get in touch with us, apparently somebody had an issue with the website trying to sign up for a free consultation, but we do offer a free 30-minute consultation through our website. If you're having trouble getting into the website, email us at the info@teepasnow.com, and we'll be happy to reach back out and figure it out with you.
Sorry. Yeah, if you're
it
having
shouldn't be
problems,
happening,
because we
but
do free
We try to
consults for
offer
sure.
lots of free resources via the website and the profile, but we're happy to connect.
We
with
also try to
anybody
hook you up
who's-
with other people if that's what it works to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is the video of this going to be available?
The video will be available on YouTube later. Get up with us if you can't find it. We work on it. We're not always quick,
They're
but
all
we
set up
try.
currently.
Hey, she does all that.
All right. Any final words from the folks out there? Thanks,
Everybody's
everybody.
very
Thanks
grateful.
to you all. And we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and you just found our YouTube channel and watched one of our videos. I'm the owner and founder of Positive Approach to Care. Thanks for watching. And if you liked, if you have a comment about, or you would, please share it with people you know. Oh, and if you haven't yet done it, consider subscribing. We'll let you know when the next new video comes out. And you might want to visit our website, www.teepasnow.com, where you'll find other resources as well. See you there.